Hello ladies, good afternoon. Floral Laurel coming at you again. Your fibroid flower child of the 21-day fibroid fix saying hi. I just wanted to make a fun drink today. I made another batch of nut milk and I made walnut milk and it's heating on the stove, and I just wanted to show you guys how to make some chai tea from scratch. And I really didn't realize that the chai tea that I've been running to the coffee house and getting for the last few years, first of all, I didn't realize that it was like a mix, not real chai, not real spices, and second of all, I didn't realize that like in that mix there's going to be like high fructose corn syrup and chemicals that I probably can't pronounce. And the real shocker to me was that it's not even vegan. They've turned some honey into some powder, and so there's powdered honey in the chai mix that I was getting at the coffee house. And so I've just started making my own chai tea, and it's super delicious and it's relatively easy. And of course, like always, I just kind of wing it from scratch and talk to my girlfriend or look online and sort of figure it out for myself. And so for the sake of this video, I actually went online and looked up a recipe, and I'm excited to share with you the recipe that I found for making a chai spice mix, so that you don't have to gather all the spices together every time you want 1 cup of tea. So I've got the walnut milk. I just made it yesterday and it's already in the pot. I've got that simmering. I don't want it to be burning or boiling, but scalding hot. So I heated it up to medium, and just when I heard it start to bubble, I turned it down to simmer and low. And so now that I'm on camera, and now that you're with me, what I'm going to do to start before I make the chai mix is I'm going to just set some bags of tea to steep in my walnut milk. And the great thing about using your nut milk to steep your tea instead of water is that the milk really helps I think it's the tannins from coming out. So your tea won't have the risk of getting too bitter if you steep it for too long, like what often happens if you're steeping in water. And so I've got a couple of friends coming over for tea. So I've got 3 bags of tea, 1 for each of us. And I'm just going to put this into my pot. I'll show you. Here's our nut milk. And that's about 3.5 cups right there of walnut milk. And I'm just setting the tea bags, kind of making sure that they get the moisture and the liquid soaked up, because the milk is definitely thicker than water. And I'm just going to let that steep for 5 minutes. I'm going to set the timer. I'm sure that this won't take 5 minutes to mix the spices, because I've already got everything ready to go to show you ladies. But that's how we start. I've got my directions written down so that I don't miss a step. So we start with 2 cups of milk. Make sure it's scalding, not boiling. Then we've got, 3 cups because we've got another friend coming. So then it would be 2 cups. So now we're at 3 cups. And so it would have been 2 tea bags. Now it's 3 green tea bags. And the difference between green tea and black tea is just that one is roasted. Black tea and green tea are the same plant. The green tea is just not as cooked. It's not roasted. And so it doesn't have the caffeine punch either. And so that's why green tea is allowed in the Fibroid Healing Academy and in the 21-day Fibroid Fix. Although, to be honest, I don't have it every day. I don't want to get back to being hooked on caffeine like I was in another life when I was a different person and I ate very differently. But yeah, I used to live on coffee. I used to live on coffee all day, coffee and maybe a bag of chips all day, and then I would get off work and go buy a couple of giant bags of potato chips and probably like just eat those on the drive home. I live far away, so it'd be a long drive, and I might skip dinner. I might have had some cake or some Del Taco for dinner, but not anymore. Nowadays, I don't do coffee. I haven't had coffee in over 2 years. And so for a little bit of fun, I'll have some chai tea, and I'll do a green tea chai tea to make it even healthier. And yeah, I'll watch my caffeine intake. Okay, so to make our chai mix, we're going to start with cinnamon. You're going to have 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, and if you can find Ceylon cinnamon or true cinnamon, it's rather expensive, but it's really amazing in terms of flavor, and it's actually really healing in terms of fibroids and just womb and uterine health. It's an ancient remedy for, I think, to help uterine bleeding or uterine bleeding regularity, or to stop it if it's irregular. I'm not sure, don't quote me, do your own research, but I take Ceylon cinnamon in capsule form twice a day, and if you taste it in comparison to, I think it's California cinnamon, it's just a world of difference. It's way stronger, way spicier. So Ceylon cinnamon, and then we're going to do, that's supposed to be 2 tablespoons of cinnamon and a tablespoon of nutmeg, and a teaspoon of nutmeg, not a tablespoon, and a teaspoon of cardamom. We were supposed to do a teaspoon to a tablespoon, depending on how spicy you like it, of ginger, but that's the dry ginger, and I went ahead instead and I grated up some fresh ginger, and so this is not going in my spice mix, but this is going to go into our tea, into our latte, but this is just a one-time amount of ginger, not, I don't have dry ginger. And so I went ahead and just used some fresh ginger. The recipe also calls for a half a teaspoon of cloves, and I would be really sparing with that unless you know that you absolutely love cloves, because they're good, but they're strong. There's our tea. Our tea is ready, and we are not. I'm sorry. I'm not surprised, though. I'm a chatty Cathy. The recipe also calls for a 1/4 teaspoon, hardly any, but just a little bit of black pepper. And then the recipe, the last thing that was in the recipe that I was following, it's on bakerita.com. And it's a little bit different than how I would do my chai. But the recipe called for allspice, and I don't have any allspice, so I Googled what I could use instead. I mean, I know I could run to the market, and I was about to, but then I learned that allspice is a berry. It's like a peppercorn or a pepper, and it tastes a lot like cinnamon plus cloves plus nutmeg, which we already have all of those. So I just increased the amount that the recipe said just by a tiny little bit, because it only called for, I think, a teaspoon of the allspice. So just a little bit more cinnamon, a little bit more clove, and a little bit more nutmeg, and that made up for the allspice. And just to make sure that my chai spice is delicious, and to make sure that it's delicious when I sprinkle a little dash of it on top of my cup of tea at the end, just for a little fun garnish, I'm going to go ahead and put about a tablespoon of coconut sugar in my spice mix. And then you just stir it up or shake it up, mix it up. And you're going to put about a teaspoon, maybe a half a teaspoon per cup. So a teaspoon for 2 cups. Since I'm doing 3 cups, I'm going to do 1.5 approximately. And I'm going to go ahead and put my grated ginger in my tea. And honestly, I've done this before where I've added all the spices and the seasonings and the flavor, and I forgot to add the tea, and it's really delicious even without the tea. So if you're not into green tea, or if you don't want to have the caffeine, or you don't want to have it with tea, I recommend trying it just with some milk and spice. Just heat it up, or even cold. It's really delicious. The other thing in the Bakerita recipe that they called for was maple syrup. I don't have maple syrup, but I'm a big fan of raw agave syrup. So I've got about 3 tablespoons. We're putting that in our tea too. And I'm just stirring it all up. I haven't actually put my spices in yet, so let's do that. Oh, funny cupboards. Don't you love an old kitchen? So here is our chai spice mix. See that? I'm going to put a little bit under a teaspoon to start. I have made the mistake of adding too much spice, so I definitely recommend going with the old adage that less is more. You can always add more, but you can't take it away. And I'm just going to stir that up. I'm going to take out these tea bags. If you squeeze your tea bags, you'll be releasing some of the tannins and some of the bitterness, so it is not recommended to squeeze your tea bags, unless you want that bitter bite. And our chai is ready to go. Again, you want to make sure that the heat is turned off. I was supposed to do that as soon as I put the tea bags in, but luckily it's not boiling, so we're all good. And voila, that's it, we're set. I have a little jar to put the rest of my spice in, just for fun. I do recommend finding little ways to enjoy yourself in the kitchen, fun little containers, or putting on some music, or putting on some earrings or some makeup, doing whatever you can do to make yourself feel good in the kitchen, enjoy being in the kitchen. One of the things that I absolutely love, it's an Abraham thing. I love blue glass, so I find ways to incorporate blue glass into my day. And my chai spice mix is going to be my new fun way to remember to be in the vortex, to remember to be in alignment. So shall we try some of this tea? Got my L cup ready to go. And, honestly, the Bakerita recipe did say that this is, sweetened to taste. You might want it to be less sweet, or you might want it more. And the article, the article before the recipe that they write, she did say that it's not very sweet, but that might be perfect. So I just again, less is more, I'll just see. Cheers. It's definitely sweet enough. Oh, and I get to put the spice on the top. Okay, let's finish filling up this cup. I don't know if I can do that on camera. That might not be safe with hot. Well, we're going for it. There we go. Let's get a little bit of spice on top. If you have a high-speed blender or a frother, you could be able to blend or whip this up and make it even more of a latte and maybe even get some of the foam on top. But we're just keeping it simple. And my, that looks beautiful. I love it. Okay, Tawny and Ross, you guys need to get over here. Your chai is ready. I'm ready. Let's hang out. Oh, that is good. Thank you, Bakerita. Oh, I wanted to really quickly tell you also some other things that you can put in your chai that wasn't on her recipe and that I often will use. Additionally, I'll put a couple of drops of vanilla in with my chai tea latte mix. You want to be sure to use real vanilla extract and not vanilla flavoring. We don't want to do chemical stuff. Another good thing is a pinch of sea salt, and you could do maple syrup like the Bakerita recipe called for. You could do agave. You could do coconut sugar if you like the flavor of that. I'm not the biggest fan of coconut sugar in drinks, but it's okay. It's good in a pinch. I'll use it if I have to. You could also use, other kinds of nut milks if you're not a fan of walnut milk, but this by no means has to be made with walnuts. You could do cashews, you could do almonds, you could do oats, you could do rice milk. Find what you like. You can even buy canned coconut milk, and I don't know how healthy that really is, but you can also buy coconut milk that's fresh in the refrigerated section. And if you wanted to sort of even make this like a bulletproof coffee kind of chai latte, you could add some coconut oil, and that would add some extra calories, it would add some healthy fats, and it would also sort of just help your body sort of from the inside out. The oil isn't necessarily something we want to be eating when it's heated up or cooked, but putting it in with your tea, that's not raising the temperature of the oil to an unhealthy level. And so it is a good way of getting that extra oil into your system, help your skin, help your hair, help your nails, help everything. That's it. Yeah, that's all I got. All right. It's time for me to sit and relax. Thanks for watching, ladies. I'll see you soon. Peace and love. I'm out.